John, I really appreciate you taking the time today to meet with me and give you a little bit about an impression of how you thought you did with our campaign. And so I had a couple questions prepared for you. First of all, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and if you could introduce your business to us.
Thank you for having me, and I'd be happy to do that. Started in the business about 20 years ago. Um, right off the bat, I lucked into radio way back when no one was on radio. Did not know it then, but the key to radio was consistency. You do a show every week, you collect 20 to 30 new prospects a month, and then that builds. So 20 to 30 this month, I have to get them off my desk because I got 20 to 30 coming next month, and then the next month. So that led us to be number one in the United States, first to $100 million in production. Back when people were producing $2 or $3 million a year, we were producing 20, 25, $30 million a year. But then the radio stations, all got greedy, and all the
Mhm.
copycat shows flooded the air. Um, you know, One thing radio stations do really, really well is book new shows. So they like the revenue stream. And, garden show people can't afford $6,000 a week, but
Mhm.
we can. So I had to venture out into the marketing world for the very first time in my career after being, on radio and lazy, broadcasting from my office, every weekend. Didn't even have to raise my butt off the chair. Um, it was a really unique thing. Sadly, good things always come to an end. So we had to find something new.
Mhm. Okay. Interesting. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And you did a campaign with us where we did your first seminar in August. We did a second one here in October, and there's a
Right.
third to follow. But let me ask you about your first campaign there, since we've got the final results from that. What do you think you did well to get you such a good engagement that you got?
Well, everybody out there is looking at this. If they're in the retirement industry, or know our clients. It's mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, Uncle Bob and Aunt Mary, the millionaire next door. And every once in a while you get a Oracle executive that slips in, with 5 to 10 million, or an Exxon retiree with 4 or 5 million bucks. Everybody has the same needs in retirement, and everybody makes the same mistakes. uh,
Hmm.
Variable annuities, mutual funds with huge fees, doing it the way that grandpa did it. I didn't dress like grandpa, curl my hair like grandpa, even though it's kind of starting to look like grandpa's. I'm certainly not going to invest like grandpa because, grandpa got to 65, got a fake gold watch, retired on Social Security and small pension, lived till 70, died. Grandma lived till 75 or 80 and died. And that was called retirement back then. Retirement's much different now. Like, people have different needs. So, now we hear all that same stuff on the radio. I call it annuity breath. Same lines I've been using for 15 years. We got to use something different, more sophisticated now. Correcting the keys to retirement that are flawed in each one of these people's portfolios. All those taxes, hidden fees, poor performances, buy, hold, and pray strategies. We've heard them all. Comes down to income, safety, growth without unnecessary risk, or drowning in CDs making nothing, losing to inflation. Taxes, and actually sitting down with us and planning their estate. So if you say something to everyone out there who could be listening that would be a problem, we call it exposing the pain in marketing industry. When you come in and your motor of your 7-year-old Toyota is going out, that salesman knows you need to buy a new car.
Hmm.
We have to expose some pains there of common in people's portfolios, where they're going to want to sit down, evaluate things, and utilize our talents.
Okay,
Okay.
that's
There's
great.
something for everybody. I mean, you got to talk to everybody. That was radio. Every single show, I wanted to talk to everyone out there.
Hmm. Yeah, you talked
Guy
a bit about
called,
that pain.
says, I'm a 70-year-old doctor. And I said, okay, so I listened to your show 10 times. I said, why do you call this time? He said, you talked about an exit strategy. I
Hmm.
don't have an exit strategy. I don't know how to stop working and start being retired. So now we
Okay.
call it an exit strategy.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. Another question I had for you was, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with us at Gust and Quan, our GQ seminars, and what it was like working with us and your experience associated with that?
As we call it, annuity GQ. It took a lot of calls by you, young man. But we had a horrible experience with digital marketing,
Hmm.
pre-COVID and post-COVID. Now, our pre-COVID, we were doing really, really well and packing people into the office. It was incredible. Had a record first quarter, but post-COVID, things went bad. Lots of promises. Everybody was out there trying to make money because they had to refund everybody for the previous programs because the venues weren't available anymore. So to not die, they had to get new revenues. It was pretty confusing, and it was all the same. I mean, paying somebody $3,500 to get you 35 registrations. I can get 35 registrations for $100, is I think what you told me. They're not going to be any good.
Hmm.
So, when I took a real look at what you do, uh, and the key was you found me on Facebook and on the internet searching for digital marketing. I didn't find you. Then you started to feed me information. It was intriguing videos, teasers, data, information, experience, new, different. And then you finally called me and asked me to do a Zoom call.
That's right. Huh. That was interesting how we first came to chat. You were quite surprised at how we did come to meet you, and that started a great relationship. I wondered if you could sort of just go over the numbers that we had with your campaign. Let's just start with that first campaign.
Right.
Uh,
Oh, and the numbers were most important because in that first Zoom call, which again, I'm sitting there in the back of my head, all I'm thinking is BS. I've heard this all before. But no, you just whipped me through your book.
mhm.
Uh, and the Zoom call made it simple. Annuity GQ is miles and miles ahead of the competition by design. You've got agents that you showed me pulling in multiple programs a month, some in multiple areas per month. Well, you don't do one or two webinars in different states if you're not getting good results and you've been doing it for the last 4, 5, 6 months. You told me you didn't really have a big change except for how you had to execute pre-COVID and post-COVID. Well, that was interesting. You Zoomed me the numbers. You showed me, you just said, here, let's look at this guy.
Mhm.
A week to the webinar, 45 registered. We usually get about a 40% of attendance rate, and they usually get about a 40% appointment rate. Well, okay, well, that's pretty darn good during COVID. Um, our first, and then you showed me a webinar that was like, had just broadcast.
Mhm.
65 people registered, 34 attended, 11 appointments so far. That's amazing numbers in COVID times. This was a no-brainer at this time, and you just reeled through them. There were hundreds of them. You have full agencies doing them for all their different agents in all their different cities. So, you've developed this science. It was not a fluke that you found me. So it's not a fluke that you found my potential clients. Results, to get to your question. It's really important though to me that I'm an engineer. I'm a weird engineer because I'm a salesperson who's an engineer. Very strange title. My first company I worked to, they developed it after being in business for 75 years. They got their first new title, sales engineer. I
Yeah.
did it. Because I could go to the client and instead of selling them something, I told them how they could enhance what they were doing. And they're
Mhm.
like, well, that's cool. So it wasn't sales, it was modifications, it was design, kind of what you're doing. So first webinar, we had 59 people registered, 29 showed. We booked 7 appointments that day. We added 4 more appointments afterwards. Follow-up is the key here. And we're still working those leads. Ashley still got them on the phone, still emailing them, all the way down to the no-shows. Because
Mhm.
everyone that called my radio show wanted help.
Mhm.
Everybody who registers is shopping. They want help.
Mhm.
Now, It takes 1 time to some people. It takes 5 times for some people. And as you've taught me, I learned all this through you. It might take 7 times of trying to contact these people, not harassing them.
Mhm.
You contacted me at least 7 times before I nodded, maybe. And then, when you showed me in the bottom line, you showed me, well, it's a guarantee. We're going to get you this many. And if we
Mhm.
don't, for every one that we don't get you, we give you the money back.
Mhm.
I said,
Mhm.
no, get me more, which you did. So I owed you a little bit more money at the end. We just did our second webinar. 57 registered, 24 attended, 7 appointments set, 3 more that we think we're going to get. Um, never left, my butt never has left the chair.
Mhm.
I don't have to buy dinners. I don't have to go to a venue. I don't have to do anything. And people really have to start getting used to this whole thing of, there's nobody flying around going to meetings anymore. Big businesses found out they don't have to do that.
Mhm.
Our clients don't have to do that. I have a friend of mine who's closing 90% of his business right now. He's never even seen the people. He doesn't even use video.
Yeah.
He uses join.me because he said, I'm sitting in my underwear talking to them at my house. I don't even go to the office anymore. So it all kind of works together. But if I can string along here, and I hate to take up your time because I want you to be asking the questions, not me. But the big difference for us is the size of the cases.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
have a $6 million case right now, and he's retiring next month. He
Yeah.
doesn't have an exit strategy. Love that expression.
Yeah.
He doesn't want, he said, well, I kind of always self-managed, but I need someone to put the plan together.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll start with the plan. That's fine. Now, the other typical cases, a lot of them are between that sweet spot. There's a few that are in the normal digital range, which is $500,000 to $700,000 in assets, but usually all in the wrong spots. Most of the cases are between about 800,000 and about $1.8 million in assets.
Okay.
Digital marketing before, it was lots and lots and lots, which is great. Small cases
Mhm.
of like single females, widowed or divorced, that really needed our help with about $500,000 or $600,000, super important monies to them. They were being abused in the marketplace. But your cases are much larger cases.
Okay. Well, I'm super excited to hear that, John. That's great. And I guess the final question, given the success that your program has had, can you give any advisors that are to consider this in the future and trying to ask that question within themselves? Should I give this a shot? What are some of the best practices that I should apply to my program? Can you give us some best practices that you might propose to new advisors?
Well, for the successful advisors, do what you do now. Do what works for you. If you're on radio, do what you do on radio. If you do classes, do what you do, or dinner seminars, do what you do at the seminars. Talk to the people about what you already know. Now, if you don't have a script that's working, you want to know what does work. New to GQ, they got a script. You have a full program. You're going to go through training. They're going to show you how to set up this. I don't know how to set up a Zoom call. I don't really even care. My assistant does. So you trained everybody on exactly step by step. Here's how we're going to prepare. Here's how we're going to launch this thing. Here's what you do. Here's what we do. Here's how we confirm everything for you. The step, I call it the step-by-step to a success plan.
Mhm.
So if you follow along, GQ will train you to do everything that you need to do. They'll provide you everything that they need to provide. All you've got to do is follow along with the instructions. But it's not free. It's not no work. You'll see Calvin working harder for you than you're working for him. In fact, if you don't want to do the follow-up, you can talk to him about that. He'll do it for you. Now, we have a competent staff here that have done the follow-ups forever. So the key to follow-up is fast, same day. I agree with you, Calvin. That was a great thing. Confirm your appointments right after the show. Have your assistant or yourself or your wife or whoever does that sitting there and call these people back immediately afterwards and thank them make sure they got their card and confirm that appointment. Then either then or, we do ours on Saturday, either then or on Monday, we're going to call all the attendees who didn't book an appointment and find out, A, did you get your card? B, why didn't you book an appointment now? Can we go ahead and help you do that? It's a 15-minute call. It's worth your time, certainly worth our time. Now, mine usually lasts 30 to 45, sometimes an hour, because they get interested. Right now, to make the appointment, all we ask for is 15 minutes, and I book myself out for an hour because I hope that they want to stay around. And I have a first call script called a discovery call. They get to discover a little bit about us. We get to discover a little bit about them. We don't take every client. They don't take every advisor. We got to come to some kind of a impasse at the end of this time. At 15 minutes, I usually take a break and say, okay, we're at 15 minutes. Sounds like you're a fantastic candidate. Can we go ahead and continue? Well, surely. What else we want to talk about? Well, here we go. So, confirm those appointments, call the attendees, get them booked in, and then for the rest of the week, email all the attendees with a copy of the video of the webinar in case they didn't get or they got antsy, or their wife said the dog just did something. You got to get off that damn webinar. Let them watch it again at their own, and then follow back up with them afterwards. Email the video to the no-shows and say, sorry, we missed you. Everybody knows how to do this. Then call the no-shows and ask them what the heck's going on. You needed help. You obviously are out there shopping for help. How can we help? And that's really the process. It's fairly simple, but it takes minimal effort. And I think, if you've got 60 registrations, you should have a large quantity of them follow through. It might take a month or two, but we're still dripping on the ones from the first webinar.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of statistics out there that back up this idea that most of the business will come within later follow-ups. In fact, there's one that I can think of. 80% of the business will come between the 5th and the 13th touch point. So
I need to those off, because right around 5, I'm getting
you get a little tired. But the point is that you definitely want to continue that engagement. You don't want to continue with the same type of communication, but you vary the media, whether it be an email or a voicemail or a video selfie, etc. So this is all great information, John, and I really do appreciate your time and offering this to us. And to look forward to future programs with you and a great relationship to come.
Well, thank you. We have our 30-day launch to our first week in January campaign starting right now. That will be the 30-day launch to the February campaign. We do have we book about 40 to 45% of our business usually in January, February, March. So those are good times. Obviously, we're in OND now, but heading into the holidays. So we're working all the leads from before closing up the year. So we'll have a large amount of our business booked now. But the key here is consistency. Book one every month. And so we have 11 to 15 this month. We'll have them 11 to 15 next month. And, and that's how we stack up and can get to our goals for our AUM and our FIA.
Okay, great. Well, that's all I had for you today, John. And you have yourself a great day.
Well, thank you to you and David and GQ.
Great.